Hey there, and welcome to episode 53 of the Unfiltered and Undiscovered podcast. And of course, down there in Adelaide, gearing up for the local footy season, we've got Braggy. How are you, Braggy?
I'm very good, Curly. I had the dates for the footy season mixed up. I thought it was this month. It's not till next month, but that's okay.
Oh, no.
That's all right.
So April. You guys
Yes,
don't
April.
kick off until April
We've
or
got
bounce off.
trial games, at the moment. So that's all right. Can save my money. I haven't got my membership pack yet anyway, so that's why I was starting to freak out. But I realise now I'm not a day behind. I'm a fucking month
You're
behind.
a month behind.
What about you, mate? Have you got web feet?
Yeah, we do. As you know, we've been in Brisbane and we've had a little bit of water, and I've never seen water like it. It just sort of, if you can imagine, well, people who haven't experienced it won't be able to imagine it, but it's like being in a thunderstorm for like 72 hours and with nothing stopping. It's just varying degrees of huge amounts of water hitting, and you know, all the people in Brisbane that, you know, there's creeks that are flooded that have never flooded before. There's rivers. Wow. Like the flooding is really widespread, and it's just phenomenal, Braggy. And then all the sad news that have come out of Lismore again, like Lismore floods. Someone can stop by the side of the road and do a piss, and Lismore floods. It's that flood prone, but the reality is that it's never seen what they've seen this time around. So it's
terrible. Maybe we should. People should comment their favourite song about rain. Maybe we could put a compilation together and might lift people's spirits.
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind was it a Dragon song? It's been raining for so long.
Have you ever seen the rain? CCR? Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go.
But seriously, I've never seen anything like it. So we've been pretty lucky where we are, and as I said, the only issue that we've sort of got is the bloody internet's really patchy at best. But you know, there's people once again that have lost their
so far
homes.
tonight.
Yeah, holding. Yeah, let's keep our fingers crossed. But yeah, it's the other thing that I just want to briefly touch on is the NRLW started on the weekend.
Oh, I love watching the girls.
Yeah, they play a really good brand of rugby league, and you know, and they don't wrestle as much, even though they've now got coaches that are teaching them to wrestle.
Yes,
but they don't wrestle, and they play it in a good spirit, and there's no testosterone where people get aggro, and it's a different game.
You know what I like about it? It's like the men's game. Everyone's the same size, same speed, same toughness.
Yeah.
In the girls, you've got that variation of height, speed. So it just makes for a more open, interesting game, I reckon.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic.
It's kind of like something, you know, when you go watch junior rugby league, there's always that one big guy.
Yeah.
They can't. It's like that a bit. I love it.
Yeah. It's and of course my team, the Dragons, won and the Broncos won. So good start for the season for both of those.
Now the Drags won for the first time for that thing for a long time. The lead up game. What's it called? The
Charity Shield.
Charity Shield. That's it.
Mate, what a game that was! And
I still remember.
I think the Dragons are going to have a good year this year, and the Dragons fans. I mean, seriously, we're 3 trial games in or something, and there's already people calling for the coach to be sacked. So I don't know.
There's another episode, mate. Sports songs.
Yeah, absolutely. Hey, look, just a little bit of news, and then we're going to get into the Mick Medew interview. Cool. Fantastic feedback out of Mick Blood. Hopefully he's people that listened to it enjoyed it. I mean, Mick was a real character, and tonight we see probably a little bit of a flip side, a contrast personality-wise, that's for sure. And Mick Medew is a very measured, humbled, quiet sort of a guy. So,
similar style band, though.
Yeah, similar style band and similar stage presence. So,
yes.
Yeah, it's really interesting. So Little bit, I felt pretty good this week. Shane from Blind Season sent us a pre-release copy of their new song.
Is it? I haven't heard it. Is it good?
Yeah, it is. It's actually got a little bit of space in it and a little bit of depth in it, and there's it's a little bit starts a bit slower, has some really good strong build-ups in it.
Okay.
But we got the pre-release, Braggy. So
exclusive, only exclusives on this show.
Yeah, so that was pretty cool. Of course, there's a little thing happening in Ukraine that we won't spend too much time in, but Russia's been banned from Eurovision because of it. So that's.
I don't think they've ever won Eurovision, have they? Russia?
Yeah, well, I don't know too much about Eurovision. I know it somehow Australia goes in it, so I'm not sure how that works.
Well, that's because outside of Europe, we watch it more than anybody else in the world. Outside of Europe.
Oh, truly?
Yeah, that's why. So that's why
they said we might as well let you in.
Might as well be in it. So, yeah.
That's incredible.
We should do an episode on that too. I'm coming up with all these episodes, Tony.
Yeah, you write them down. You just we'll flip them through. But we've got a couple of guests coming up too, so we're going to be busy boys. Hey, the other interesting thing that I picked up is that Amazon Music have launched what they call Spotlight, and this is I actually think this could be something that a lot of the other platforms will start to pick up.
Okay,
but it's where artists can put on their profile a little bit of a personalized message, like a voice message.
Oh, so okay, so you can
like
say
a video
something about
saying, so if they've got a song coming out, it might be Braggy gets here and say, "Hi guys, this is a new song. I've written it about the love of my life, and it's watch out for this and that." And I think it's a little bit of a game changer because once again it builds that personal connection between fans and the artist. So,
yeah. That's cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah,
well done.
It's going to be, and it's Amazon, which is playing, I would imagine, a little bit of catch up with some of the other bigger names. Now you've got a couple of provisos. You've got to have 3,000 fans. So
okay.
And they've got to be on they've got to be on the Amazon platform. It's also Alexa compatible, so you can.
Oh, is Alexa the one where you talk to the little thing? Okay.
Yeah, the little speaker.
Yeah.
So I think that's pretty cool. I think it's a really good way to differentiate. But the other thing that I found interesting is that once I discovered this, I did a little bit of research, and on Amazon Unlimited, so in Amazon there's 3 different ways or payment measures. You can sell the music on Amazon itself, 99 cents.
Oh, yeah, like you buy anything else on Amazon, yep.
And I think the artist gets like 70 cents out of every dollar, so that's not a bad little return. You've got to sell a bit, but... then they've got Amazon Prime, which is like and they've got music included in that as a bit of a freebie. But Amazon Unlimited, which is where people pay to get full access to the Amazon Music range, for an artist, it's actually the highest dollar amount that you can get for streaming. It's $10.96 per every 1,000 streams. So they're certainly out there to try and make a difference. Now, just as a bit of comparison, Apple Music $6.77 per 1,000.
Yep.
Google's $2.22. Google Play, that is. Spotify is $2.29.
Yeah.
The 2 biggest companies, of course, pay the lowest rates
because they get more streams,
more people. Yeah.
Yeah.
Napster, which I didn't even realise was still a thing, is $7.88 per 1,000. And even TikTok, because they do 45-second snippets on TikTok, and people are getting paid, and it's, I think, 97 cents per 1,000. So, and YouTube's $3.
I think that'd be 0.097 of a cent. Yeah.
So there's a real stream. So when you think about that Amazon Unlimited, I would imagine what they're what they may be trying to do is you've got the connection aspect now with Spotlight. Mm-hmm. They're going to pay you more for your streams. So maybe they're trying to get people to be exclusive to Amazon Unlimited. Interesting.
Yeah, I guess they're giving Spotify a run.
Yeah, very interesting.
Okay.
And of course, you mentioned to me before that with your music, it just gets all conglomerated into.
Yeah, well, I have a guy. There's a company. I suppose I can tell them that's called DistroKid, who you pay a certain amount per year or 6 months or however much it is. I think it's year, and they put you on all those formats.
Yeah,
YouTube, Apple, Spotify. There's so many of them that I don't even know. It's a list of about 20.
Yeah.
So I'll have to dig out that list so I can tell you one just before one episode.
And it makes sense because for an artist to be doing that, it's just going to to navigate each individual platform.
Yeah.
So, alrighty, let's have a chat about Mick Medew and the Screaming Tribesmen now. I did a couple of things, Braggy, because unfortunately you weren't present for this interview. You were out making music or making love or music or love and music.
Wow.
I've forgotten. But unfortunately you weren't available. You were organising your Sydney trip. That's right.
Yes.
So so I did the interview by myself.
Yeah.
So it was really good. Once again, I'm just humbled that I had the ability to have a chat with someone like Mick, who I've seen on stage so many times and just loved his music. And it wasn't until just the other day that I realised that, one of the questions Braggy always asks is, how did you get started?
Yes.
When did you first start?
That's a cool question because everyone gets started in different ways. I mean, it's kind of the same, but it's some spark somewhere that you just go, oh, fuck, that's what I want to do.
This is it. Yeah. So I realised I didn't actually ask that question. So there was another interview that Mick had done with, I think it was the Australian Rock Show. And once again, I'll put the link of this in the podcast. And the first question the gentleman who runs that particular podcast asked was, how did you get started? And I thought, oh, here we go. So anyway, just so you know, Braggy, he started playing guitar when he was 14.
Yep.
And he actually said he started later than most people. So I don't know if that's about
14.
The
That's
norm.
about the time. I think I was like 10 when I first picked up the guitar, so that's around the same time.
Yeah, his first guitar was an $18 acoustic.
That's about the same as everybody. Because
band.
mum and dad go, he's never going to stick with this.
Yeah,
just get him a cheap one.
He started a band in high school. Oh, no, he had a paper run. Wow. He purchased it himself.
Yeah.
He had a band in high school. His first gig was at 16 in the Musicians Club in the city.
Yep.
The family itself, because that's another question you like to ask. Do you come from a musical family?
Yes.
His mum played piano. His uncle was a big Johnny Cash fan, so he always had Johnny Cash.
That's good.
But mum and dad liked the swing bands, Frank Sinatra, Glenn Miller, etc. So his very first record was Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon.
Pink Floyd?
Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
But he also says on that interview that that's probably the only one he really liked out of Pink Floyd. So
Dark Side of the Moon's the only one he really liked.
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
And he grew up in Brizzy, of course, in Spring Hill. And from his house in Spring Hill, they could actually see Cloudland. And he still remembers the time where, and for those people aren't aware, Cloudland was this place in Bowen Hills where it was just music. That was the
7 nights a week, wasn't it?
Yeah, capital of Brizzy. And he remembers vividly getting up one day and Cloudland was no longer there because they tore it down overnight.
In the middle of the night, bastards.
Which is something that was what happened in Queensland. We had the Bellevue Hotel, same thing. Cloudland knocked down overnight. So
that was Peterson.
Yeah, it was Joe. So I'm going to start the interview with some of my long-winded questions, but I'll just give the viewers a bit of a heads up. Mick is really softly spoken.
Okay.
Which surprised me a little bit because, I've seen him live and I've seen him belt out songs. And, so during the first part, I stuffed up the first band name. So I'm giving you the heads up, guys. I called it the Fun Things, where the band was actually the 31st that he started. Now, the Fun Things was a band. Yeah.
Did you ask him how they got that name?
No, but you would have. So
That's all right. No, that's okay. We can speculate.
So let's so the first up, let's play one of the very first songs that I sort of got into with the Tribesmen. This is a song called "Move a Little Closer." It was the B-side to a Standalone, and then I'll play the first part of the interview.
Cool.
So it's my pleasure to welcome to the Unfiltered, Undiscovered podcast. Please welcome Mick Medew from Screaming Tribesmen, Mick Medew and the Rumours, Mick Medew and the Mesmerisers, and of course he's now playing around with Mick Medew and Ursula. How are you, Mick?
I'm good, Tony. Yeah, thanks very much for inviting me. Hiya.
It's a real honour. I'm a real fan of the Tribesmen. I was very much into going to bands during that 80s period, you know, the mid to late 80s. And I've got to say the Tribesmen were probably the band that I went to see the most. And it's a real joy. It's a real honour for me to be speaking with you today, Mick. So, and really excited to hear about what's happening now and some of your thoughts around the past. So first up, congratulations on certainly on what you've achieved. You know, you commenced with the Fun Things back in '79, and what a band that was. I mean, Pino and Shepherd and the likes. And who would have...
The 31st.
Yeah. Oh, that's it. Yeah, the 31st. And then who would have imagined 43 years later, you're still gigging, you still tour, you've toured the world, you've achieved or received the prestigious Grant McLennan Lifetime Achievement Award. How do you feel about what you've achieved in the music industry?
Well, I kind of feel lucky in a way, I guess. You know, as a young man, you know, we've toured for nearly 10 years straight there for a little while in the Screaming Tribesmen.
Yeah.
And all around Australia, you know, all through the kind of regional centres. I used to be in places like Newcastle and, you know, like, you know, Coffs Harbour and, you know, Portland and Victoria, you know, places like this, you know, Tamworth.
Yeah.
And I'd often be thinking, gee, you know, what am I doing here, you know? And I guess that part of my life, because it's remembered, all that 80s music is remembered, it's enabled me to still have a career, to keep playing.
Mm.
And yeah, so... Yeah, I feel pretty fortunate that I'm still able to play, and got a new album coming out this year.
Excellent.
With Ursula, yeah, and my band, the Mesmerisers, have been recording a couple of songs as well. doing a few more soon. So yeah, I guess I feel pretty lucky now looking back. I turned 60 last year, and kind of makes you think about a lot of things. And yeah, I guess I feel pretty happy. Don't have too many regrets, I've got to say, Tony.
The Graham McLennan Lifetime Achievement Award must have been an incredibly proud moment for you.
It really was, yeah. Look, I thought someone was having a lend to me at first, you know. When I read the email, I thought, is this for real?
Yeah.
Is this really happening to me, you know? Yeah, it was really exciting, you know, and it was lovely to be acknowledged in that way, you know. I mean, yeah, it's great. I mean, I spend a lot of time away from Brisbane, I guess, as well, which kind of confuses people, you know. Tribesmen are kind of spread out between Brisbane and Sydney for a while, and but yeah, no, it's lovely to be back home, and it's lovely to be honoured in that way, by the QMA. Yeah, it's just lovely, you know.
Hopefully you've already picked up, Braggy, the real difference between Mick and Mick.
You said that he had he was quietly spoken, but that was, I did not expect that at all. That voice. And a humble guy.
Yeah, very humble. Very humble. And that comes through time and time again right throughout the interview, just really humble.
Yeah.
And really appreciative of the fact that, you know, he's 60-year-old. He still gigs. We talk a little bit later about him and what he's doing with Ursula, and I'll actually show you a little bit of a clip of some of that as well.
Okay, that's
during
cool.
the show tonight.
Just on the first song, Move a Little Closer. Like the early songs that you write are usually love songs. You know, like the Beatles' "Love Me Do." You know, because you write about what you know, and then when you're that young, it's first love usually, 16, 17, 18, and that's what you know. So that's usually why the first songs that come out are love songs. But it doesn't matter what genre.
But the interesting thing around Move a Little Closer to me is Igloo had already come out, and Igloo was a Ron, and you get the story behind Igloo tonight too, Brad.
Okay, cool.
Igloo was the lyrics were written by Ron Pino.
Yes.
And then, so it was a collaboration between Mick and Ron. And then the A side of the Move a Little Closer was on the B side to A Stand Alone. And A Stand Alone was once again a Pino and Medew collaboration. And but I gravitated towards the B side, the Move a Little Closer, because that's purely Mick. That's a Mick song.
Yeah.
And when you hear A Stand Alone, it's layered, it's textured, it's got that the Pino influence, I'd say.
Yeah, he's a little bit more avant-garde, Pino.
Yeah. As you get with Igloo. Igloo's a bit layered, and
it's very steeped in reverb. You know, it's almost Pink Floyd-y.
Well, yeah, it's such an interesting thing. So the second part of the interview is I'm gonna do a bit of a shift here. We talk about Igloo and the reshaping of Igloo, and then I want to play what I call the Igloo stripped version, and you'll see why I'm going to play it when we've listened to that. And then I'll go straight into the story behind Igloo. So there'll be a bit of a double play with the interview, with a song in between. So let's see how we go. It all started, I guess, for me as a fan, and I'm not a musician. I've never had the discipline to learn to play a guitar, even though I've always wanted to. I'm one of the world's best at air guitars, but for me, it all started with Igloo and A Standalone, and predominantly the B-side to A Standalone, Move a Little Closer. So that initial songwriting collaboration that you had with Ron Pino, for example, for Igloo, It's a song that's treasured by many, of course, and I know that in the journey that we're taking with the podcast, Mick, a lot of artists fall out of love with their songs, but recently I've seen that you've reinvented the song and you do it as an instrumental. How did that come about?
Oh, well, Tony, I've sort of, I guess, discovered that in probably about 2009, 2010, that I kind of wanted to try and be a bit kind of self-sufficient in my music in a way, you know. I wanted to, I was playing in the Rumours at the time, but I wanted to kind of do other things.
Yeah.
And one of the things was to be able to play on my own if I had to, you know,
Yeah.
which I did kind of for a while there. You know, between 2010 and 2020, that kind of 10 years there now and again, and I sort of was trying to think of ways to texture my music when I was playing by myself, and just got a few loop pedals, and just started kind of experimenting with a bit of instrumental music, and I sort of was just having a bit of fun with Igloo, you know, just playing along to my own guitar that I'd recorded on the loop, and you know, I was just doing just an impromptu sort of show for Phase 4 Records in I think 2018, and I thought, well, I'll do my version of this and see how it goes, and it brought the house down, so I thought, you know, I'll keep playing it, and I love the version I'm doing at the moment with Ursula. You know, it's different again to what was on Psychopharmacologist, the Ursula's keyboards in it.
Yeah.
This is when we play live. I mean, it's not. I haven't. We've got, our album doesn't have Igloo on it. We've got, you know, different material for the album. But it just keeps on taking on a new life of its own, that song, and a lot of the older songs do, I think. It's amazing how many songs from the 80s they can you know, still, you know, run the full gamut and still be relevant now, and still not sound dated, you know.
Yeah.
It's a funny thing. Yeah.
Very much so. my co-host is Tave Bragg from Adelaide, and he's at the moment preparing to record some music of his own. So unfortunately, he couldn't join us tonight. But he's always wanted to know the deeper meaning behind Igloo. So can you share a little bit about the deeper meaning behind the actual song itself?
Oh, well, when Ron wrote the lyrics, there's a couple of things. It's kind of a little bit inspired by that Franz Kafka novel, Metamorphosis.
Okay.
Where the man wakes up in bed one day and he's a cockroach.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, he's changed, and it's how sort of people treat him after that. It's obviously he feels a bit like an alien or something, you know. There's that alienation thing and the loneliness that comes with that.
Okay.
And also, Ronnie was in Sydney and he'd come up to Brisbane really to have a band, you know. He was meant to have a band with Bruce Anthon, Tony Robertson, who ended up being in the 31st with both of us, and Chris Welsh, who I also went to school with as well as Tony. But he was meant to have a band with Bruce Anthon and Tony Robertson and Peter Mangaday, who, you know, was in Helmet eventually and Handsome. And but that didn't work out, you know, and so it's kind of a bit stranded here. And Tony knew me from school, and Chris as well. And Chris was already a great drummer, and so he stayed. But I think he was, you know, missing Sydney a lot of the time. You know, the red telephone, that telephone is something that you used to find in places like motels and hospitals in, the 1970s and early 80s, the red telephone, you know. Wow. At night I dream of a red telephone. That was in the hostel where he stayed for a while, near my mum and dad's place. Yeah. He was living just up at the other end of the street from us, near Albert Park and near where the grammar schools are now, you know. Yeah. It's all sort of boarding houses down there, and just, you know, moving up to Brisbane and having to make new friends and everything, because he was also a little bit older than the rest of us. Yeah. You know, we were all 17, 18, and he'd already turned 25. Okay. So it was a different kind of, that's, you know, that's a bit about
gives us
song.
a
and Brisbane, and Brisbane can be a bit of a lonely place, I guess, at times too, you know, type of thing. And I think it was, you know, even more so in the early 80s.
Wow.
Did you expect that?
No, and I know the book. I've tried to read it. It's so intellectually written that it's very hard for me. It's like Ulysses. I've tried to read that about 10 times. It's just too big for me. But I do know about that book and about how it is about a guy who wakes up and he's a cockroach. Yeah, it's deeper than that, even though it's about isolation and there you go. He's older, so he's gone past the love song stage, and he's got other things happening in his life that are causing him to write. Obviously, he's feeling, you know, isolated or wow, that's really cool, Tony. Well done.
It was, wasn't it?
That's very good.
And what I really loved also, and the instrumental of Igloo that he does with Ursula, his wife.
Yeah, that's cute.
You can just see the joy they get. You know, they're still doing it. Yeah, they're doing it.
She's got the little Casio keyboard. I watched a little bit of that as well before the show tonight, and she puts the little drum machine on. It's the little Casio drum machine, and I don't know where they're playing. It looks like they're playing at an RSL or something. I don't know.
It's a place called the Cave Inn. That one is from. So
it's just cool. And he's still, like he said, he's just happy. He's up there still playing. Yeah. You know? Yeah. And making original music. Good on him.
And I just really love that version of that song. It's just,
that's good.
You know, it's a Sunday session song. It's I think if he was to play it in a traditional pub on a Sunday session, a lot of people
Mate, if you got the
probably
Casio
wouldn't.
keyboard out and the guitar, you can't do nothing but Sunday session songs.
But it would be, but a lot of people in the audience wouldn't get the intricacies around that song. Whereas, you know, the guitars doing the vocal, I just love it. I just think it's awesome.
That's good.
So.
Cool.
All right, now the next session of the interview, we start talking about Date with a Vampire, and we start to see the shift in the music of the Tribesmen. So,
are we going to play Date with a Vampire now?
we are going to play it first, and you just wanted to do a little bit of a shout out for people to listen in.
Well, first of all, I just want you to listen to the start, and it starts with the guitar, and it's rocking. But then another guitar comes in the other ear. I don't know if you listen in stereo. Another guitar comes in the other ear, and it's fucking screaming like a banshee or a vampire or the Screaming Tribesmen. It's another. It's playing the same thing as the first one, but if you listen to it, it's like, you know, and then the other part is there's all these really cool. But after the solo, the guitar solo. There's all these really cool little bass runs, right?
Yeah.
And then it finishes with this spooky sort of, because it's about a vampire girl, or obviously a goth girl, and that he's met or someone's met, and it's got this real cool little Addams Family arpeggio, and it starts with that piano sort of Addams Family thing too. Listen for those
everyone,
things.
Everyone, listen out. Here we go. How would you describe the music from the Tribesmen in those early days?
Well, I guess we're, Stooges inspired, MC5, Radio Birdman, all the classic sort of influences, I guess.
Yeah.
We're inspired by all of that. Maybe the Dictators too, early Dictators a little bit,
Okay.
And all of that mixed in with kind of that 1960s garage pop kind of 65 to 68, the Standells and Blues Magoos and, all those bands that were on, the Nuggets compilation album, series and the Pebbles series of all that kind of stuff from, mid 60s to, late 1960s.
Yeah.
So it's a kind of a mixture of those, and those two worlds.
And you can really sense it. I sort of think back to those early singles, I guess, more so, and it's like a real layered and textured style of music, and then Date with the Vampire came out in 85, and to me that sort of brought a change of tempo. It started to becoming a little bit more of a punchy sort of a rock sound, and I guess around that time that EP brought new fans to the band, and of course Date with the Vampire is the headline song, but I think that EP had 4 cracker songs. Two Blind Mice and Ice are just songs that just live with people as they go through their life in many ways. So, and you'd moved to Sydney by this stage too, hadn't you, when Date with the Vampire came out?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, I was actually working for Warwick, that was in Radio Birdman. Warwick Gilbert.
Yeah.
Yeah, the bass player in Radio Birdman. He had animation studio, Burbank Studios in Paddington, connected with Hanna-Barbera.
Okay.
And it was. I wanted to stay at that job. Actually, I really enjoyed working there. Date with the Vampire sort of took off, and like I was saying to you earlier before, that album was a bit of a success kind of thing, and the tour sort of went on for nearly 10 years from there.
Yeah.
So I couldn't really stay at my job.
Yeah, the music got in the way, Mick.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny how things turn out.
And I guess my question is, was that a intentional change in the way that the music was coming out? So to me, as I said, those first couple of singles were really layered and really quite complex, and then all of a sudden we're into almost like a punchy Aussie rock style. Was that an intentional shift, or was it, Chris Mazurek had joined the band at this stage? So did that sort of come with the territory?
Yeah, well, I was going to say it was a 2-guitar band from then on. From then on, it was 2 guitars and a bit of a fuller sound, a bit of a wall of sound, kind of Blue Oyster Cult influence in there, and some more kind of 70s kind of influences.
Yeah.
It kind of evolved a little bit. Was a bit more controlled, it was a different intensity.
Yeah.
I guess.
Control and intensity.
Yeah, it's punk. It's punk. It's the Aussie version of punk rock, which is kind of like that's. You almost put the Angels in there with that. Just it's Aussie rock. That's the only way you can describe a lot of these bands, really, because it's so unique sounding, and I think that's because we're isolated in those early days down here.
Yeah. very much so. What I loved about that little portion of the interview was you could hear the fondness in his voice around the job that he had in the animation studios. And you just
I never knew that. I never knew that. So, you hear Radio Birdman, you just think, oh, they're just a bunch of, punk guys living, but this guy's got a fucking animation studio. He's not some poor grungy kid
at the time. Yeah.
So obviously it's doing pretty well. So they're not just trying to eke out a living as a punk band in Sydney. They wow,
they've got some other stuff happening.
Yeah,
and you could almost hear, and it's not regret, but he genuinely loved that job, and he could have stayed there. So you could imagine at that time he's sort of sitting back thinking, okay, is it music or is it this job that I really love doing?
Yeah.
So how the world could have been different. So
sliding doors.
Yeah, that's for sure. Now, the next section of the interview, I start talking a little bit about, the continuation. So we start off with Mick talking about how the band continues to evolve during that particular stage. And we talked about a number of the albums. So that was Dave with the Vampire.
Oh, wow, you got that. I love that cover. I love that cover.
And
that's fucking cool, mate.
They're the boys in the band. And then we start talking about some of the follow-ups to that. So we had Top of the Town came out the year after.
Yeah.
And this is the predominantly the band that I remembered. But then in '87, this album called Bones and Flowers came out. And from a purely an album perspective, Tave, it's got the inner cover, and the words. So the old
gotta have
lyrics.
the words.
So, and this is the really interesting bit. So this is where we start to see the band continue to evolve, and and Mick starts talking about that. He also talks about their first tour of America. So after this little snippet, I'm going to play. What song am I going to play? I've got a feeling. So, and it's really interesting because when we get to that, and for those people that are going to watch this on video more so than those listening to it, they actually did 2 clips for that particular song. One was the American version,
right,
and one was the Australian version. So I think you'll see the difference.
You can't stay the same forever, I suppose. And so it was different. It was 2 Guitar Attack, and I guess tighter arrangements and things. We ended up wanting to have a cleaner sound. We were hoping to get played on the radio and sort of go ahead with things and try and get a bit of an edge on the rest of the pack, really, at the time, I guess, Got ourselves over to America first before anyone else did, and we just went for a cleaner sound, a poppier kind of a sound. An awful lot of distortion happening in Australian music at that time, and it made it hard to tell what you actually played, I think, a lot of the time.
Yeah.
And, I think the Tribesmen had a nice, clean, tight kind of a sound, at that time.
I agree with you. And so in '86 we saw Top of the Town, Bones and Flowers came out in '87, and you were constantly touring, you were constantly playing. It seemed like just about every month the Tribesmen were back here in Brisbane, and as I said, I think you were the band that I most have seen in my life. So, and I thought the stage dynamic was really incredible because the band had real consistency. There was a real core of the band that were there, and you and Chris actually created this real dynamic energy, which Chris was like the bundle of testosterone that was exploding, but then right in the center of the stage was always this calm, entity called Mick Medew that sort of had this focused energy around it. So I thought the band was really tight on stage. How did this period rate for you, from purely a live stance?
Well, it took us a while to kind of to find our feet as a live band, I think.
Yeah.
You know, by the time we got to the States in '88, we were sort of at our peak, you know, and going over there taught us a bit more about, I don't know, show business, I guess, in a way. And we have enjoyed a really terrific period back in Australia after that had been kind of completed, you know.
Yeah.
And all we had to do was just go in and make a follow-up to Bones and Flowers. But, things kind of had gone a bit awry by then, you know.
Yeah.
There's the same sort of, you know, troubles that bands have that go kind of living out of each other's pockets and touring all the time and together a lot, you know, and not really having much money to show for all the hard work, you know. I mean, it's difficult in Australia, I think, in particular for bands, you know. If in the States you can play a lot, and they've got a bigger population, but it's different here. And I guess, you know, we found it hard to keep going together in the end, you know. We wanted to kind of just have our own lives, really, I guess.
Oh, are we going to play a song?
Here we go.
Oh, okay.
You wanted to do a bit of a heads up around that song too, mate. So sorry.
That's okay. No, that's okay. I just like the start, the drums at the start.
Yeah.
It's so 80s.
Yeah.
And one of the big sounds of the 80s. You might remember a song by back then. I think he was called John Cougar Mellencamp.
Yeah.
Hurt So Good. It comes in with those big drums, big reverb on the snare, and everybody did it. As soon as that was happened the first time, everyone went, "Oh, that sounds cool." Yeah. And I noticed they got a little bit more guitar, lead breaks, longer hair.
Yeah.
You know,
It's interesting when you look at the US version to the Australian version.
Okay.
The Australian version is the one on the left.
Yeah.
And then the US one is... And the Australian version's in a pub, you get crowd shots, crowd shots. Whereas the American version is all about the people, isn't it? It's all about the big rock stars. It's the hair, it's the
it's very Bon Jovi.
So I actually asked Mick about that because I actually feel that the song's slightly different, but then when you watch the film clip, I felt like the song was a little bit different. But Mick said, "Oh no, we didn't really change the song. We just did another film clip."
Yeah, there you go.
And you can really see the Americanization of the Tribesmen on that film clip to try and, one thing I love, I love Chris Mazurek, right? So what a pedigree. Birdman, the Hitman, Tribesman, and he's just the lead guitar rock god up there on stage, isn't he? So and when you look at the US version of the film clip, he just loves it. So
it's him. That's his style.
Yeah, absolutely. So the last little bit of the interview for tonight, and then we'll do part 2 next week. Part 2 is going to be a lot more about post-Tribesmen. And this is just I just asked the question about touring because I know that's another thing that you're interested in. So
I always love
tell
to
us
find
about
out
the touring.
The road stories.
Here we go.
But it was good coming back in 2011 and 2012 and getting back together again. We've watched a lot of other 80s bands come back, and I had kind of resisted, but there was a bit of a rift going in between Bob and Chris, and I tried to sort of resolve that because I wanted to come back with the best lineup. Wanted to come back with Bob Wackley in the band, and Chris Mazurek and Warwick Fraser because they had played with me for the longest period of time, most successful period of time.
Yeah.
And so it was good. It was good getting back and playing again here in Australia, and then having that big festival to play in Spain in 2012, the Asquina Festival with Blue Oyster Cult and a lot of the bands that I loved and everything. Ozzy Osbourne was on that festival as well, and that'd have been
awesome. That's interesting, isn't it? Now, Braggy, my co-host, wanted to know what it was like touring during those days, the 80s particularly. And you sort of talked about the grind of the process of the touring circuit. Are there good memories as well, Mick? Is there any party stories? Were you much of a party band or not?
At times we were, and times we weren't. To begin with, we were, I guess. Used to love, travelling to Melbourne.
Yeah.
We didn't party as much as the Johnnies, I don't think. They were the ones that took the award for being able to drink.
Yeah.
We tried for a while at the start.
Yeah.
But we realised you don't really get very much time to recover from these things,
Yeah.
And so after a while, you sort of get into the swing of it.
Yeah.
And I guess we're almost fairly healthy living in a way, and that's, I guess, why we had a fair bit of longevity, I suppose.
Yeah.
I mean, it was a lot of sitting a lot of actually being in transit was the most difficult thing. That can be very hard, you know.
Yeah.
There's a big drive between, Sydney and Brisbane and Melbourne, Adelaide, There's a big there's a fair bit of real estate in between.
Yeah.
So that was kind of difficult. And yeah, you'd kind of let off a bit of steam at some stage. You know, I used to hang out with the road crew a fair bit too. We had an excellent crew, and yeah, made some good friendships there as well. So
excellent.
yeah.
So clean living.
Wow. Yeah, I guess now that I kind of know his personality a little bit more, that is not surprising. I think, yeah.
Not as the Johnnies take the.
Makes me want to change my 7-inch single now that he's mentioned the Johnnies, but I won't.
Yeah, the Johnnies take the cake. And have you ever seen the Johnnies live?
I just saw him in Townsville. Yeah.
They were so much fun. So
yeah, that was wild drinking boys. Yeah,
absolutely. So that was part one of the Mick Medew Screaming Tribesmen. So thoughts, Braggy?
Well, Tony, first of all, hats off to you. It was really cool. You got some really good answers out of him, and just a lovely guy. Hey, don't you think?
Yeah.
And do you reckon, Tony, that Date with a Vampire is their slave girl?
Yeah, I think Igloo is as well, and that's why I find it really interesting that he's tweaked Igloo. Yeah, and you know, twice this year I've been meaning to go out and watch him and Ursula, and say good day and meet them, and
yeah. Well, you should do that.
And both times, last weekend we had the rain and they were playing, I think, at the Cave In, and another time was called off because of COVID, I believe, or okay. I was in ISO. That's right.
You'll get there.
Because I reckon just sitting there, you can. And in next week's episode, I actually ask him how much is he enjoying his life at the moment, because he just seems that he's just in a good space. And the answer is something that, I won't break it now, but you'll hear all about that next week. So, yeah, I really enjoyed, once again, just having a chat with him. And
you did really well, mate. And once again, you have a knack of just making people relax when you're talking to him, and he just kind of relaxed a little bit towards the end there, and he gave some really cool answers. And and I liked how he's a survivor, isn't he?
Yeah, he is. And how many other places or band are still gigging actively, and
exactly,
he's got a new album coming out with the Mesmerizers this year. He's got an album with Ursula, so still living the dream in so many ways. So
got something to wake up
next
for
week. Yeah,
cool. Well done, Tony.
Had to laugh at one of his social media posts last week because he gearing up for his stint with Ursula at wherever they were playing, and he said, "Ladies, just to let you know, you should be there early. I'll be in shorts for the first session." So there's
it's got the comedy too.
Yeah, so I just love that because Mick is such a diminutive person, but powerful on stage.
Yeah,
and that's why that dynamic with him and Mazowak was just so incredible, because Mick's just got this presence on stage that it's almost in defiance of his size, because he is such a small-framed guy.
Yeah.
And then you've got Mazowak, who's just this boiling pot of testosterone, just your typical rock god.
Yeah.
And it
boiling pot of testosterone.
We've got to get Chris Mazowak on the show. I won't call him the boiling pot of testosterone when we interview him, but we'll get him on because, once again, what a story there. So let's talk 7-inch now. I'll go first.
No, I'll go first because you'll have a good one.
You've always got good ones.
No.
You go first.
I'll go first because mine will be slightly off topic because I don't have as many independent Brisbane bands as you do. We seem to be the independent Brisbane band podcast at the moment, but that's fine. Well, that's good. Well, I'm just going to go right back to his early days when he said that the first record he got was Pink Floyd.
Yeah.
And there's not many Pink Floyd singles. You know that? I've got one, though. No,
truly.
Yeah.
Ooh. Wow, They don't muck around with their artwork, do they?
Well, that's pretty standard, isn't it? What else are you going to put on there? Well, so that's
So
my
it's
little thing.
another brick in the wall.
Yeah.
Wow. What would that be worth on Discog?
Nah, not much. I think there's heaps of them. I just got it because it's a cool single.
Yeah. So
that's a Papua New Guinea guy, isn't it?
Yeah, this is Screaming Tribesmen, a standalone. This was their second album, 3-piece band. You've got Murray Shepherd, you've got Mick Medew and John Hartley. So
cool.
That was the band at that particular stage. This was their follow-up to Igloo. So, and starting to show its age a little bit, unfortunately. So
that's good.
Yeah,
it's like a well-read book.
Yeah, May '84, and it was produced once again by Chris Mazurek and Alan Thorne. So Alan Thorne produced so many of these independent bands out of, in Australia at that particular time. So
very cool, Tony.
Yeah, fantastic.
I'm going to have to
next
try
week,
and read Franz Kafka again.
Yeah, and every episode we learn something new, don't we?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And it doesn't matter what band we're talking to or who we're talking to. There's always something interesting to learn. That's the beauty of music.
Absolutely.
It's infinite.
Now, next week, we've got part 2 of Mick Medew. It's a little bit more of touring life and life after the Tribesmen. So,
cool.
And all very interesting. We do have an intellectual law expert coming on, but the show after the Tribesmen, Alison Asarch is coming back to talk all things about her new album and playing live in Nashville with a band. She's got a band
on the main street. On Main Street. I can't wait to interview Alison again. That means we've got to get up early, Tony.
Yeah.
That means we can't have this. Yeah, we've got to have the coffee. Is that right? Well, we could have this, but we're not.
Yeah, not that early in the morning. So really looking forward to that one. I think that one's going to be probably in 2 weeks. So we'll see how we go. Sean Fraser's coming on after that. He's going to share the story behind Wide Awake, which is the
Ritzies.
Yeah, the Ritzy kids. And once again, it's different to what he'd been pumping out with Sally and Breakthrough.
Ritzies.
Yeah.
Is that what they yell
he's
at?
Playing. I read somewhere he's playing live too. So that'll be another one to catch up with, see what it's like. And we're talking with a new artist from Sydney and a gentleman by the name of Blake Caterus. He's got his first song out there on Spotify.
Okay.
It's a real Sunday session song. It's called Careless Memories. So he's going to be coming on, I think, early April. So, once again, he just reached out and said, "Hey guys, here's my song. You want to have a chat?" And we said, "Absolutely, come on in." So
that's why we call Undiscovered. That's why that's in the title, because we like it when we got people that no one's heard of. Well, I mean, only a small amount of people. So I love that because that's what we try to support. There's thousands and thousands of them out there struggling.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can just take snippets out of our interview and you can put them onto your social media. And, it's such a really cool way to get known or get some content out there as well. So, so Blake reached out, so he'll be coming on. And then, of course, we've still got Luke up there in Maryborough. Hopefully, I think he was saying his music comes out end of March. So we've got a pretty jammed couple of weeks coming up, which is awesome, which is fantastic. As per always, you can follow us on our website at unfiltered and undiscovered.com. Follow us on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. We're all there. Of course, we've got our playlists, and we add songs to that playlist all the time.
I had it on the other afternoon, and you put it on random, and you get country, and then we got the Lime Spiders, and then it's so cool.
It's awesome, isn't it?
I know, it's a great playlist.
And I think 70 songs. I added Blake today, and we're now at like 70 songs. So there's a good couple of hours. So if you're mowing the yard, put it on while you've got your spotlight, your headphones on. Yeah. So all the songs, all the links for the songs today will be in the show notes, as will the interview with Mick from the Australian Rock Show. I'll put that in the show notes as well, seeing that I used some of that to give you a bit of a grounding. So another show, braggy, another one in the mix. And as the
53 not out, we've raised the bat. We're looking to go to 3 figures. That's where we're pushing to.
That'd be cool. The way we're going, by the end of the year, we'll be at 3 figures. That's awesome. We've got a ton up. We'll get a ton up. So in the words of Jagger and Richards, you know what we say. It's only rock and roll, but we love it. We'll see you all again next week. Bye for now.
Guys.
See you, Braggy.
See you, mate.